A great ACC versus SEC top 20 battle to open the 2014 season. Clemson versus UGA. And joining me now, the man who's covered the Bulldogs now for 17 years for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Chip Towers. Chip, really appreciate you joining us here on the ACC Digital Network. Now, Chip, talking to Mark Richt leading up to this game, what's the thing he's most confident about with the Bulldogs facing Clemson? And then what's the thing, as he studies up on the Tigers, the thing he's least confident about going into this game?
Well, I don't think there's any question. Georgia is certainly concerned about the matchup of their, offensive front against Clemson's defensive front. I think everybody knows that Clemson's coming into this game with one of the best front fours and maybe best front sevens in the country, and Georgia's having to counter that with a largely new offensive line, 3 new starters up there, and everybody shuffled around. John Theus going from right tackle to left tackle. That's a big deal when you're being asked to block Vic Beasley over there on Hudson Mason's blind side. So that's definitely a big concern. On the flip side of it, Georgia has a pretty good stable of running backs, and they feel like they might be able to slow down some of that pass rush and defensive penetration with the likes of not just Todd Gurley, who's early mentioned for a Heisman Trophy candidate, but a bevy of backs back there. Keith Marshall is fully recovered and healthy, and Georgia signed 2 5-star tailbacks out of high school last year in Sony Michel and Nick Chubb, who we're told are going to play in this game. So Georgia will try to slow that down with the running game, and they'll do the best to block those tough defenders for the Clemson Tigers.
It's a great breakdown up front. That was definitely something I wanted to hit on. Now let's talk about the quarterback situation. For Clemson, of course, they have Cole Stout, a senior but who doesn't have a lot of experience. You could say the same thing about Georgia. Hudson Mason, a senior who doesn't have a lot of experience. Fair to say it's a fair matchup as well with the kind of game plan they bring in.
Yeah, I would call that pretty much a push, but given the circumstances, both these guys incredibly similar. They haven't played much in the past couple of years because they've been behind just unbelievably prolific quarterbacks that were playing ahead of them. They've been patient. They've learned the systems, and, now it's their times. I mean, if I'm Cole Stout, I'm probably licking my chops just a little bit about this game. Georgia extremely vulnerable, very young in the secondary. Jeremy Pruitt coming over from Florida State as the new defensive coordinator, and he inherited, quite a mess back there with 3 defectors from Georgia since last season, and just really 2 veteran experienced guys in the secondary, and Damian Swan and Corey Moore. So I would imagine Clemson will certainly look to exploit that, youth in the secondary for Georgia.
You brought up Jeremy Pruitt. Of course, ACC fans know he was the Florida State defensive coordinator last year. I saw Chad Morris talking about that battle, that chess match. And Chad Morris says, hey, I like to attack. I know Jeremy Pruitt likes to go press man. Do you expect either guy to change the game plan even though they have new guys running on both sides of the ball?
Well, I'm eager to see what Jeremy Pruitt's defense is going to look like at Georgia. Obviously, I saw what it looked like at Florida State, and that was very impressive. I'm not sure how risky he can be given the youth of this unit overall. I mean, at one point it looked like that a redshirt freshman walk-on and 2 first-year players were going to start in Georgia's secondary. That depth chart has been juggled daily since then. So they're going to be young, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jeremy Pruitt has to be a little bit conservative on the back end. That said, Georgia's front 7 rivals Clemson's. In fact, Phil Steele rated their linebackers as the #1 linebacking unit in the country. So, I think Georgia will look to really get some pressure up front with their defense and sort of protect their secondary a little bit and buy them a little time.
A lot of questions week 1, but we know this. It's a great top 20 battle. 2 schools just 90 minutes apart. Chip Towers from the AJC. Really appreciate talking to you.
Hey, my pleasure.
All right, he's Chip Towers from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. More preview of the Georgia and Clemson battle on the ACC Digital Network, brought to you by Ruby Tuesday.